In the quiet of a candlelit chamber, Elena sat hunched over her desk, quill in hand. The flickering light cast shadows across the walls as her fingers moved carefully across the parchment. She wasn't writing a letter, nor a record of events. She was crafting a story, one small twist of words that she knew no one would check, but one she hoped they would believe. No one will see, and yet they will believe, she whispered to herself, a shiver running down her spine. Little did Elena know, this story, born in silence, was about to escape her control. By morning, the parchment had made its way to General Marcus. He was a man of ambition, pride, and discipline. His eyes scanned the words quickly, but the weight of what they implied hit him immediately. A neighboring nation was supposedly mobilizing troops in secret, threatening their lands and people. Marcus didn't hesitate. If this is true, we cannot wait. Prepare the army, he said, his voice firm and commanding. Maps were unfurled, soldiers assembled, and every decision he made was now fueled by Elena's lie. As the city woke, the story began to spread. It slipped from palace walls to bustling marketplaces, whispered from merchant to merchant, and from citizen to citizen. In the crowded streets, people spoke in hushed tones, sharing rumors, unsure what was fact and what was fiction. Did you hear? The king's army is moving tonight. One merchant shouted over the noise of the morning crowd. And the neighboring nation is preparing too, another replied, eyes wide with worry. The tale, though fabricated, had taken on a life of its own. Fear and anticipation spread faster than the morning light. By the time the king's advisors gathered, the room was thick with tension. Papers were thrown, voices raised, and arguments erupted over what actions to take. We must act now or risk losing everything, one advisor insisted, voice sharp with urgency. But how can we trust this? It may be a fabrication, another countered, doubt and panic lacing every word. Even the king, normally composed and deliberate, found his decisions swayed by the uncertainty. Every step he took was shadowed by the consequences of something that had never even happened. Beyond the city walls, armies mobilized. Soldiers marched across fields, banners fluttered in the wind, and distant cities braced for attacks that might never come. Messengers rode furiously between borders, carrying Elena's words as if they were law. Decisions made on a story of fiction now shaped reality, and history itself began to twist in response. Move. The fate of the kingdom depends on us. Marcus shouted to his troops, urging them forward. Every action he took, every order he gave, was guided by a tale that existed only in ink and imagination. Days later, Elena returned to her chamber, exhausted and uneasy. Through the window, she could see smoke rising from the distant battlefield. Fires had been lit, lives had been altered, and nations had shifted, all because of a single story she had written. I only wrote it, but they believed it, she whispered, her voice heavy with regret. She had not intended for her words to become weapons, yet their power was undeniable. One lie, one carefully crafted tale, had escaped her control and reshaped the world around her. As the sun set, the battlefield lay quiet under a smoky haze. Cities were scarred, armies had marched and clashed, and the ripples of a story spread far beyond where Elena had ever imagined. History, it seemed, was never as simple as it appeared. A single lie could ripple through lives, decisions, and empires, leaving consequences that no one could predict. Elena's quill rested on the table, abandoned for the night. The parchment remained, a simple sheet of paper that had changed everything. Truth and fiction had intertwined, and the world would never look the same again. History, as it turned out, was only as solid as the stories people chose to believe.